Indian Community High School. My name is Caleb Zaborski, and welcome back to your weekly weather forecast. The year is 2025 now, and to start, I'm going to do kind of my weather history here. This is the Greenfield tornado, kind of dubbed the tornado of the year in terms of appearance and also scientific value by the weather community. But we're going to hop right into next week. So for the week of January 13th, 2024, you're going to see, obviously, kind of what I did last week, how I have home events are in the dark red, and then anything that's away is currently in, I believe so, everything that is away is in the white. You're going to see we start, obviously, Monday with men's and women's bowling. The men's is here at home, women's is away. And for that, you're going to see it throughout the week. It's rather cold. For Monday, a high of low 20s and a low of mid 10s, so very chilly. Tuesday is the open house for the incoming freshmen here. And then for the weather there, it gets even colder with a high of high 10s and a low of low 10s. So once again, very chilly, dress in layers. You're going to see Wednesday, once again, some more sporting events. But you're going to see that we have a chance for some flurries of snow here. Weather gets a little bit warmer with a high of high 20s and a low of low 10s. Once again, Thursday, more sporty events, obviously. High of mid 20s and a low of low 10s. It's a little bit colder. Friday, there's an art show going on. Also, some women's basketball and wrestling. For that, a high of mid 20s and a low of mid 10s. Saturday, you're going to see weather-wise. Once again, it's still cold. But what's going to happen is, obviously the high is mid-20s and the low is mid-10s, but we're going to have a cold front come through. So you might experience the high temperature for maybe an hour or so before the cold stuff comes right back. And with that, there's also a chance for not significant snow, but snow in general. A couple of inches here and there. Once again, nothing too much to be worried about, but obviously hazardous driving conditions. And then to end the week, there's a varsity dance invitational at Great Lake Central. For that, a high of mid-20s and a low of low 10s. So once again, very chilly this week. This is kind of what we expect now during winter. And then for the temperature outlook, pretty near normal. Obviously, when we're in middle of January, we kind of expect all these cold temperatures to go on. And then for precipitation, obviously I know we do have some snow possible, but overall, relatively below. And then kind of what I wanted to do is doing a year in review for tornadoes. Let's hop right in. You're going to see, this is a map currently of every tornado that happened over this year. And we have 4 EF4 tornadoes, 2 of them in Oklahoma, 1 in Nebraska heading into Iowa, and then 1 in Iowa. In terms of where you wanted to be if you were storm chasing, Florida, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Iowa had very above average years for tornadoes, especially Oklahoma. I know we kind of always say Oklahoma is the place to go for tornadoes, but in this case it actually was, and we've been having these different periods of where like the deep south gets a lot of tornadoes, but obviously this year that wasn't really true. For us, it was mostly the high plains, but also traditional tornado alley. But for more significant stats, let's go right on. This is the overall tornado counts. This, ever since they started doing this count of tornadoes, I don't know how far it goes back. I think it says 2010 to 2013. We're going to see that we were the second most active year for tornadoes. Not by a significant margin, obviously, because the top year, which I believe was 2014, that was just so above average with the tornado outbreaks, more so in the number, not the intensity. Other previous years have had more significant tornadoes, but not as many. But you see, compared to the mean of tornadoes, which is around 1,355, we had much more at over 1,800. So very significant in terms of number of tornadoes, but also we had some pretty strong tornadoes, as you're going to see in the next slide. So it's kind of the overall statistics. Once again, tornadoes that were confirmed. That's so far confirmed. It's going to vary as we are still doing some damage surveys from a event that happened just before the new year. Obviously, you see that in the 249 EFU. So that's EF unknown. So they could not maybe there wasn't enough damage to give a rating, or like they knew a tornado happened, but they didn't really know like where it was. That's kind of what you give to those tornadoes, kind of the up in the air tornadoes. Usually they're like EF1 to EF0 because there's not that much damage to go off of. And then for the significant tornadoes, we had 137 EF2s, 43 EF3s, and obviously 4 EF4s. But what's surprising about all of these significant tornadoes is that we only had 54 fatalities compared to other years, obviously previously when we were a little bit less advanced in our warning system, in our tornado safety protocols. There would be a lot more fatalities. So it's really impressive to see with the amount of damage in tornadoes that we had only this much. Obviously, you don't want to have any fatalities, but to see us making the improvement is very important. And then kind of for like these three most significant stats, the strongest confirmed tornado, once again, Greenfield, at an EF4, 185 miles per hour. But the whole thing about that is that a radar that was on wheels, so it's mobile, it can go around. It actually recorded wind speeds of up to 309 to 318 miles per hour. So once again, for what this tornado actually was, it was incredibly damaging, but due to how we rate tornadoes, it took a lot more to be an EF5. And obviously, it did not have the damage or the widespread amount of damage to be an EF5. And then for more scientific stuff, there was significant progress made in the WOFS, which is Warn on Forecast. Basically, we look at the environment that's around, and we can kind of say, around here, there should be a tornado. Usually, we've also been using AI for this as well, where we use AI learning systems that can kind of almost forecast, not exactly tornadoes, but rotation. And it's been impressive, and it's been working. And so with this, in Greenfield, it gave a 75-minute lead time up until the tornado came. So very impressive. But going on, once again, another year in review here. This is for the geomagnetic storm because we've just been so active in seeing the auroras. Let's hop right in. Kind of pretty quickly here. We had the first G5, which is the extreme geomagnetic storm, in 21 years, ever since October of 2003. Obviously, in Antioch, we had multiple aurora sightings. I have no idea about what the viewers may have seen, but from a personal standpoint, I've seen the aurora 5 days. Some days even simultaneously. Like I've seen auroras, I believe, on October 7th. And then the following day on the 8th, and then the 9th and the 10th, I've always seen this kind of trend here. And in terms of what we can expect this year, we should see that the solar storms decrease in frequency, but does never mean intensity, as what we've had, especially with the G5 in October of 2003. That was, we have solar cycles, and they kind of go in 13-year patterns. And on the downfall from the peak, you can still have very intense storms. That's what happened in October of 2003. And obviously right now, it's been happening during the peak, but we can always expect to see one or two more storms that could bring the aurora to our area. This is kind of some more nitty-gritty scientific details. It has the, what we call the KP max, which is kind of how we rate these auroras. And 9 is the most intense, and obviously 0, you don't got much going on. But then the DST is kind of the intensity of it. I don't know exactly what that is in terms of what it calculates, what it measures. But obviously, the stronger negative that it is, the more intense that it is as well. This is the speed of the ejecta. So when the sun produces these coronal mass ejections, usually the intensity goes with how much was ejected and how fast it's going. So you kind of see, for the storm in May, it was going about 1,000 kilometers a second. So once again, very fast. And then these details kind of goes in once again the intensity, but also the direction of the aurora, because the aurora can travel positively, which is kind of when it subsides, but also when it goes negatively, that's when you can see these substorms and the really bright, beautiful colors, the deep red hues. And obviously, the stronger negative it is, the more likely that we are going to see it. But going on, this kind of is quickly just a solar cycle progression, and kind of it measures the sunspot number, which is kind of these regions that can produce the aurora and produce these CMEs that give us the aurora. But you're gonna see that we are approaching this peak, and obviously I think this was August when we had these crazy storms that went on. But now we're gonna begin on our downfall. But you can always kind of expect almost like a second peak, as you've seen in these two other cycles. So it's something to keep an eye out for. Obviously, as we approach 2030, we'll be reaching the solar minimum, where we don't really have much going on. You don't really worry about the aurora. Obviously, you give it another like 5-7 years, then that's when the next peak comes. So we got a lot still in store for us, but obviously we're on the decline. So going on.
So
Kind of to wrap it up. This is the G5 storm that we had in May, and this is a satellite view of the aurora. It's not in color, it's just in black and white, but you can see the circle. This is like right at the North Pole, and everything around is the aurora, and right on that left side you can see the United States. Sure, it's tilted, but you can kind of see it, and that white line is where it was overhead. And I remember when I watched it, it was like 2 a.m., but everything that was around me was just like surreal in an experience, and the colors were beautiful. Kind of the storms vary on the color. May was more purple, October was more red. Does not have to do with the month, it has to do with, I don't know, air content. It's a whole other side notes. But it was just super impressive to see that, and obviously they do cause damage to the power systems and satellite, but also we've kind of evolved enough to where that's not too much of a worry for us. So now it's just really beautiful to see the aurora, especially this deep south. Obviously, when you think deep south, you think like Alabama, Mississippi. But in terms of the aurora, it takes a very strong aurora to even have it overhead for us. So to have these many experiences going on, it's very impressive. But that does it for your weekly weather forecast number 17.